Hey there, welcome to Extra Healthy-ish, the big sister podcast to Healthy-ish. Both podcasts are from Body and Soul, and I'm your host, Felicity Harley. So every day, we're bombarded with pressure to be positive. You know it. The good vibes only and life is good memes, the endless advice to look on the bright side. We're constantly told that the key to happiness is silencing negativity wherever it pops up, in ourselves and in others. But if all this positivity is the answer, why are so many of us feeling sad and anxious and depressed and burnt out? Well, that's what therapist Whitney Goodman, who's behind the Instagram account Sit With Wit, it's worth following by the way, she's going to unpack this today. She's got a new book out. It's called Toxic Positivity and it's really good. She's going to talk about just how damaging toxic positivity can be. Whitney, thank you so much for coming on Extra Healthy-ish all the way from Florida. How is your day going?
It's going great. Thank you so much for having me.
Now, I do ask this question for everyone who comes on this podcast. How do you stay extra healthy-ish in your life?
I like to exercise and sleep is very important to me.
Oh yeah, long live sleep. What do you do for exercise?
I do a lot of classes. Those are the most motivating for me. And I also use the mirror in my house, which was a great pandemic addition for me.
Oh, yeah. Can you just quickly tell us about that? Because that hasn't really hit Australia yet. I think it's just coming, but we've seen all the news from over in the US that it is the thing that people have to have.
Yeah, I'm obsessed with it because I don't like riding a bike and I feel like everything else is stationary bikes. So this is like workout classes that you can do through a mirror so you can look at yourself and see the coach. And if you want to do more than just like a Peloton or cycling, it's really great.
Oh, great. Okay. Well, we're looking forward to getting that down here. I think it's going to hit like a storm. So let's talk about your book, Toxic Positivity. Just to recap for those who didn't listen to Healthy-ish, what is toxic positivity?
Toxic positivity is the unrelenting pressure to feel happy, and be pursuing happiness no matter what the circumstances. And it really tells us that we need to suppress or deny any emotion that isn't happy or positive. So
where have we gone wrong with all this positivity? Because I feel like we had Seligman, was it probably 2 decades ago now, where he came out and we're all, it was amazing. We're all on this positive psychology bandwagon. And he had some wonderful things and definitely, had an impact on many of us, me included. Now we're at the other end of the spectrum. So where have we gone wrong?
I think we've just taken it a little bit too far. Positivity has now been sold as the cure to all of our problems, from physical health to mental health. And unfortunately, I think it's become a lot of blame on the individual now that if you somehow can't fix your life or fix your problems, you're not thinking positive enough. And there's a lot of other things at play here that influence us other than our thinking.
What other things are to play into this?
So when we think about like social determinants of health, these are the factors that influence how we feel and how healthy we are. It would be like access to food, where you live, environmental pollutants, your family structure, access to healthcare, sustainable income, all
economics, education, they all play into that, don't they? Yeah.
Yeah. They have such a huge impact.
So often is it that we don't take these into account, or do we need to be more aware of these social determinants of health? I feel like this is a common word in public health, but I feel like more of us are becoming conscious of this.
Yeah. So I think positive thinking kind of ignores all of that stuff and just says, look to your thoughts. Your thoughts will be the thing that dictate your life and bring everything good or bad to you. And if we widen the lens a little bit, we can see that there's just so much more going on.
Yeah, absolutely. And maybe just being aware of those other things, then you're like, well, okay, it's okay that you might, be struggling with X or Y, and that is normal. You've actually got some great examples in your book of toxic positivity and how they can harm you. Can you talk us through a few of these and perhaps what we should say instead?
Yeah. So one of them is like time heals all wounds, and time doesn't heal everything, right? So instead, we might just want to be with somebody and say, it's hard that you're going through that. I'm sorry that happened. Another big one is everything happens for a reason.
Oh, I'm
this
sorry,
can
but
be
that one bugs
particularly
me.
harmful.
Yeah.
Yes, exactly. So instead of saying that, asking questions, what is this like for you? Which part is the hardest, or what are you struggling with right now? And anything that uses like, at least it's not this, is not helpful. I know people are trying to induce gratitude, but it can be more helpful to just, again, try to understand what the person's feeling and sit with them.
Actually, that you make a good point as well, because it really is about us taking responsibility of asking questions of other people as well, isn't it? Like, we have to help those around us, and perhaps we get so caught up in our own world, and especially if we're on social, and we become so self-obsessed with our own sense of wellness that we fail to look around. Often we don't look at the people around us and ask the right questions.
Yeah, and it's uncomfortable sometimes to sit with them and ask those questions. I think people are well-intentioned when they say these things. It just doesn't help.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, we do often use toxic positivity against ourselves to appear happy. If we're posting on social media, or if we're talking to friends, no, I'm all right, everything's wonderful. My life is as it seems on my reels or whatever. But it can be a breeding ground for shame. Talk us through how this works.
Yeah. So when we say things to ourselves like, I should be grateful, I shouldn't complain, and you're not able to kind of interact with that gratitude or feel positive about it, it induces a feeling of shame that you're not where you should be or where you're supposed to be. And often that leaves us feeling like we're doing something wrong, or we're failing at being able to control our emotions. It can be much more effective to just validate where you're at and then try to go for gratitude after that.
We'll be back after this short break with more from Whitney. Yeah, talk us through gratitude, because you do talk a lot about this, and I actually just came across some wonderful questions you ask for us to sit with, what gratitude means in our life. Now, we've all heard, write 3 things every day to be more great, to induce more gratitude in your life. How do you use gratitude in all this?
So I think gratitude works best when it flows naturally and when it's not being forced on you. So I would say that you should engage in gratitude after you've had a moment to acknowledge what's hard, think about what's been difficult for you, and then try to look at, okay, what is going well? What's within my control? What can I look at here that might give me a sense of joy or fulfillment in my life?
And are you into sitting down and writing things in your day that you're grateful for? Is that something that you believe in as you're a psychotherapist? That's it. Yeah. Yes. Or are you more about in the moment being grateful?
So I think lists have shown to be effective for people when they're doing them at a time that it fits. So if you're in distress, I would not recommend sitting down and doing a gratitude list. If you wake up in the morning and you're feeling good, you want to think about what you're grateful for, great. I find that it's easier to move throughout your day and be like, wow, it's really sunny outside. It feels nice. I'm grateful for that. Or this food was really good, and just recognize it as it comes up.
Yeah, good tip. Now, the other chapter I loved was the chapter on emotions. I mean, it's basic stuff. And I feel like when I came across that, I'm like, but isn't this what we should know as a human? Isn't this what we should be teaching our kids? But it's so profound in many ways, how to process an emotion. So many of us suck at it. So why did you include this chapter, I suppose, and why is this important for managing our happiness levels?
This was the biggest thing I noticed as a therapist, was that everyone that was coming into my office really didn't know how to identify what they were feeling, give it a name, and talk about it. And you're right, it seems like something everybody should know, but I don't think a lot of us grow up learning that from our parents and really watching them do that. And once we're able to feel an emotion, label it, and know what to do with it, it becomes so much less scary.
It does. It helps you deal with it. Actually, that's one thing that I read many years ago in another book, that to teach your kids, and I'm really conscious about that, particularly with my kids. I'm like, okay, how are you feeling? Not just the 3, happy, sad, or okay. You need to really dig deep and go, oh, Mum, I'm frustrated, or, I mean, they hate it. I'm like, what are you feeling? And they're like, what? Not this again? Yeah.
I love that. That's great.
So the other thing is, opting out. You talk about opting out for the quest for happiness. Talk us through this.
So happiness is just an emotion. You're not going to feel it all the time, just like any other emotion. And when we opt out of that quest, we can find fulfillment through our values and other things. And what that means is that you'll live in line with what is important to you, and you'll feel happiness sometimes, or sometimes you'll feel other emotions. And that's actually much more fulfilling and meaningful as a way to live than trying to just always experience happiness.
So talk us through happiness in your life. What's bringing you happiness right now?
So I'm a new mom. So my child has definitely brought me, thanks, a lot of happiness, but also a lot of like struggle and sleeplessness. And, it's the ultimate experience of holding the good with the bad. I think that's parenthood. And I got a lot of toxic positivity around that experience. And so it's such a good example of something that can bring you so much happiness and also so many other feelings.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's a good point. It is the one time in your life where the toxic positivity is bombarding you for when that new,
oh my gosh.
Yeah, you're like, okay, what is going on? Because at the moment I've had 2 hours sleep and I am not happy.
Yes, it gave me a lot of good book material.
Book 2, right?
There's my positive spin on that.
I like it. And what do you do to keep your mental health in check? I mean, you're an expert in this space. Obviously, it's important for you.
Yeah, exercise is very important for me, like we talked about, and also getting enough sleep and really eating foods that help like fuel my body and make me feel good. It's very important. Cooking, I love to do.
And what's your favorite dish to cook?
Oh gosh, I just find a million recipes online and try to not mess them up.
Yeah. Well, basically, it's just the fundamentals of good health, and really, it can sustain many happiness levels down the track, especially food. See the joy and happiness in cooking food.
Absolutely. Cooking it and eating it.
Yeah. Whitney, thank you so much for coming on Extra Healthy-ish.
Thank you for having me.
Well, if there's one tip I really liked from Whitney, it was find the gratitude in the moment. Don't get caught up with writing the 3 things in the morning or night. In the moment. I love that. Anyway, if you want more from Whitney, her book is called Toxic Positivity. It is a really interesting read. If you want more from us, remember Extra Healthy-ish. We publish a new episode for your wonderfully healthy ears every morning, Monday to Thursday. For more, head to bodyandsoul.com.au, or you can join the conversation via Body and Soul on Instagram or Facebook. We also have a YouTube channel. Yes, a Body and Soul TV. Just search for that on YouTube. Thanks again for tuning into my chat with Whitney. And if you have a moment, we'd be so grateful if you could rate, review, and subscribe to this podcast. And until tomorrow, stay extra healthy-ish.